Ram Hari Hari Krishna. So let me, as usual, share the screen. Bhagavad Gita. This time I'm a bit more prepared. Have the Bhagavad Gita ready to go. And there's lots of Mavadavangas coming in.
It's quite a few Labangas.
Yeah, very popular name, isn't it?
Mm.
It's amazing how many spiritual masters give their disciples the same name. Perhaps we should.
Today you gave a nice class and there was a lot of information about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Lots of
So much. I didn't even touch 1%,
Yeah, it was really good.
The class was an hour and a half. It could have gone on much longer.
Yes, I was thinking, but there was no breakfast, so it's okay, no?
Yeah, so for breakfast we had Krishna Katha. We had Katha about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That was our breakfast.
Yeah.
Right. So we're coming in, today we're beginning with text 29. Yesterday we covered text 25 to 28. Interesting, as is always with Bhagavad Gita, very interesting. 25, I'll give a quick synopsis. Describes that Krishna consciousness or being absorbed in Krishna, it's not an overnight affair. It's shanai, step by step. Yeah. So that was basically text 25. Then text 26, Krishna brings up what we all experience when we try to do mantra japa or try to concentrate on Krishna. Yeah. And he gave 3 adjectives to describe the mind. Anyone can remember those? I can, because I've got them written in front of me, so it's easy for me.
What was the question?
Wandering. In text 26, Krishna describes, he admits the difficulty and then gives it of the wandering mind. But then he gives us an instruction. We have to take on the task of bringing the mind back from wherever it goes. So that's something we have to do. And he describes the mind as being nischalati, means wandering, chanchalam, flickering, and astiram, unsteady. Yeah, that was basically text 26. Let's see if we touch on the purport a little bit. Yeah, remember we spoke about Prabhupada in the purport gives the name of Krishna as Rishikesh. Remember I brought that up? So Rishikesh is the name given to Krishna. Our senses belong to him. Yeah, these are his senses. So they should be engaged in his service under full control. Basically, a little synopsis, text 27. It describes some of the results of being able to concentrate, to maintain a fixed meditation upon Krishna. Yeah, basically becomes free from the modes of material nature, becomes free from the mode of passion, reasons from here. And then he realizes his or her qualitative identity with Krishna, not quantitative, only qualitative. Yeah, so that means we identify ourselves as being spirit. So that's the Brahman platform. Remember we mentioned the Brahma Bhuta? At that discussion, I asked the question, what do it mean by Brahma Bhuta? And in the Charyas of the comments of the Acharyas, they describe it as the spiritual substratum which pervades everything. So one perceives that, and one is then free from all. Remember, then we quoted a verse that Prabhupada refers to there, na sochati, na kamsati, that one is free from all lamentation. One is freed from all hankering. Was it? Hankering. One is equally disposed. Yeah, one sees one experiences one's own spiritual constitution to the beginning degree, and one also appreciates everyone else to also be ultimately a spirit soul, and not their bodies and not a product of matter, but all related to Krishna. Yeah. So that brings us to text 20. Yeah, text 29. Yeah. Is it text 28 spoke about being situated in transcendental happiness, sukhena, which is always available to such a realized person. It's not based, their happiness is not based on anything material. It's based on their realization of their relationship with Krishna. And that's always accessible. So they're always in Brahma, it's described as Brahma Samsparsham, being always in touch with Krishna. Yep. And then I think we finished off yesterday by explaining that the next 4 verses, where we begin today, describe the different levels of mature meditation. Yeah, going up. All right, we are ready. Any initial questions on that or comments? Otherwise, we'll jump on the roller coaster of the Bhagavad Gita. And if anyone would like to read text, let me see, text 29. Here it is, ready to go up on the screen. It's quite a lengthy purple, just so you can see. Well, compared to the last few verses, it's more of a lengthy purple. So we might pause mid-purple. Let's see how we get on. Yeah.
Shall I read, Prabhu? Hare Krishna?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Text 29. A true yogi observes me in all beings and
You can read
also
the Sanskrit,
sees
yeah?
every being in me.
Have a go at the
Indeed.
Sanskrit level. We're having a
Oh,
Sanskrit
sorry.
Bhagavad
Oh,
Gita.
sorry, I completely forgot. Sorry.
Okay.
Text 29. Sarve bhutas estam atmanam sarve bhutani chatamani iksate yoga yukta atma sarvatra sam darshana. A
Ashna.
true yogi darshana. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. A Krishna-conscious yogi is a perfect seer because he sees Krishna, the Supreme, situated in everyone's heart as Supersoul, Paramatma. Ishwar Sarva Bhutanam Hridyadeshi Rajuna Tittashti. The Lord in his Paramatma feature is situated within both the heart of the dog and that of a Brahma. The perfect yogi knows that the Lord is eternally transcendental and is not materially affected by his presence in either a dog or a Brahmana. This is the supreme neutrality of the Lord. The individual soul is also situated in the individual heart, but he is not present in all hearts. That is the distinction between the individual soul and the supersoul. One who is not factually in the practice of yoga cannot see so clearly. A Krishna-conscious person can see Krishna in the heart of both the believer and the non-believer. In the Smriti, this is confirmed as follows. Atvata sa martave sa atma it param. The Lord, being the source of all beings, is like the mother and the maintainer. As the mother is neutral to all different kinds of children, the Supreme Lord or Mother is also. Consequently, the Supersoul is always in every living being. Outwardly, also, every living being is situated in the energy of the Lord. As will be explained in the 7th chapter, the Lord has primarily 2 energies, the spiritual or superior and the material, which is the inferior. The living entity, or the part of the superior energy, is conditioned by the inferior energy. The living entity is always in the Lord's energy. Every living entity is situated in him in one way or the other. The yogi sees equally because he sees that all living entities, although in different situations, according to the results of fruitive work, in all circumstances remain the servants of God. While in the material energy, the living entity serves the material senses, and while in spiritual energy, it serves the Supreme Lord directly. In either case, the living entity is the servant of God. the vision of equality is perfect in a person in Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah. So any immediate questions off the bat, as I say, that comes from this, or anything?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, or anything that challenges you with the purple.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering about we have to discriminate between good association and bad association and see everybody equally. For me, this is a very difficult concept. And I don't know, is there any help you can give us on understanding how we see people as the same and kind of different at the same time?
Yeah, interesting question. If I can just repeat what I understood your question is, we hear actually and we're advised quite often actually for the development of Krishna consciousness, we have to avoid the association of non-devotees as much as possible. Yeah. And we should avoid the association of those who may be critical of Vaishnavas, or those who may not be favorably disposed to what we are doing. At the same time, we're supposed to treat everyone or see everyone equally. So you find that difficult to put into practice. Is that correct? Is that correct? Is that the question, basically?
Yeah, because I find myself like in certain places, like I might avoid some people or I might avoid somebody if I think they're going to not be good association for me.
Yeah.
Whether it's maybe a karmi or somebody that you might know in social, thing. And so I don't actually see, maybe I do understand that like they are a spirit soul just in the shelter of the material energy or something, but it's kind of difficult because you are discriminating on one level as to what association is good for you to make progress. And then if I go around seeing everybody's a part and parcel of Krishna, like spirit souls, then I kind of lose that discrimination of a little bit on what's going to be more beneficial for me.
Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah. Also, just thinking that even you was mentioning perhaps relatives or persons within the world who you have to interact with, you might avoid their association. But even realistically, we have to say, even in the sangha of devotees, there may be some devotees for one reason or another who unfortunately might be quite critical of others. So you might be a little bit, you might find yourself making discrimination even amongst the sangha of Vaishnavas, So I've got a few ideas about it. I've got a few things I could say, but perhaps I'll offer any other Vaishnavas here, Vaishnavis here, any insights into this question from Mother Lavanga.
Yeah, I feel the same, like you just saying, even in the association of devotees, even when you're doing service, you have to be really careful how you speak, what you speak. And you'd love to be just friendly and have the nature you've got, just, be with that. And, but you have to change, which is such a shame that we can't, though we preach to be be equal to everybody, yet we just have to be careful.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to make some initial comments on this? Yeah. I was thinking we're actually instructed to make what's the word? We're actually instructed to to discriminate. I'll explain because this verse is, there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. See if I can remember it. Sava Bhuteshu Yat Pyasyat Bhagavam Bhavamatmanaha Bhutani Bhagavad Atmani Esha Bhagavatotama. So there's a series of 3 verses that describe different levels of God realization. And the verse I just chanted, recited, explains that the highest devotee sees within everything the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, he sees everything as connected to the Supreme, and understands that everything is eternally. He sees his worship. Let me get this right. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relationship to the Lord and understands that everything is eternally situated within the Lord. That's the vision of an Uttama Bhakta. So that's what's been, you could say, we could conclude that's what's being described here. He sees the Supreme Lord everywhere. And then there's the next level down. Ishvaratat adineshu bileseshu dvisatsucha premi matri kripo peksha yat koroti sa madhyama. So the Madhyama Adhikari, the next one down, he offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to the devotees of the Lord. He's merciful to those who are ignorant and avoids those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's a duty. We're being asked to make that what's the word again? To make that discrimination. If persons are envious of Krishna, envious of the Vaishnavas, then we're instructed to avoid them. And the next verse, Achayam avaharya ye pucham yatshutayate nat tat deshu bhaktishu sabhakta prakriti smitaha. The lowest down is more or less a materialistic devotee, not quite in reference to this discussion, but just to finish it. He's got faith in a deity, but he does not know how to behave towards devotees or to people in general. Yeah, so this Uttama, Madhyam, and Kanishta. So here let's just take it from the Uttam Adhikari. So it comes Navamava coming in, Hare Krishna. Yeah, so it's described that they won't really be in any specific preaching, because they see everything as being perfectly constituted and everyone working in harmony according to the spiritual substratum, this word, according to the arrangement of Krishna. But then you got the Madhyam, who they make distinctions. So that's one thing. That's one thing that came to mind when you were speaking, in a question. Also, what comes to mind as well is that we're to see equally, we're to see with the eyes, but we should act according to, so we should see equally, but we should act according to our realization. Yeah, so if there's persons who are going to be detrimental to our advancement in Krishna consciousness, then we should avoid them. But still, we understand, at least philosophically, if not literally, but at least we understand that they are parts and parcels of Krishna. So we are not offensive. We are not disrespectful. We just choose our association. I think the example that is often given is that, okay, understanding everyone is part and parcel of Krishna, and we're equally, we see them with equal vision. It doesn't mean that we embrace a tiger. You heard that example many times. Yes, so we have to use, you could say, a bit of common sense. So philosophically, we understand this, but Mother Lavanga just answered the question that we being instructed to make distinctions according to who we associate with. We should associate with those who are favorable to our devotional development. So we shouldn't, and it's described, or I think I read it elsewhere, where if one doesn't follow that, then that could lead to, then that could lead, I forget how it actually explained. If one is falsely associating with anyone and everyone under the name of everyone being part and parcel of Krishna, and one doesn't make any distinction, then it could affect one's devotional progress. I think, I forget where I read that, but I read that. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually mentions that. So I don't know if I'm answered it in a too complicated way. Can you just perhaps reply?
Yeah.
Lavangalataka?
Yes. So how I see it is that Krishna is in every living being, and every living being is a spirit soul. But within that, we engage like spiritual intelligence and discriminate on what is going to bring us forward. But that doesn't mean that we're disrespecting the spirit soul in the other person or Krishna in the other person.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think that's better than how I explained it. You gave it more in essence. Yeah, just like sometimes.
Yeah, because sometimes you feel like it's kind of I'm acting on a selfish platform if I'm just thinking about myself, but maybe I'm being disrespectful to the other person.
No, you're
that
not.
I'm choosing to discriminate, like an association for me, but that's the proper like etiquette, you would say.
Yeah, we've been told to do that. Ishvaratatadine Balisatsesu Dui Satsucha, this verse that describes the Uttama Bhakta. Like, for example, sometimes I see homeless people who haven't washed for years, perhaps, who are drunk, and I feel and I feel pity for them. I feel for them sometimes. So you could say if I was, if I had this vision of treating everyone equally, I would go to the drunk, these persons who have been homeless and perhaps they're addicted to heroin. I would sit down with them, or I try to jive with them and try and speak with them, develop a relationship with them, spend time with them. But realistically, that would be not good for me. You understand? So you have to make I keep forgetting the word, some discrimination. So you may feel for such persons, and you may give such persons prashadam, but for the protection of your own, you could say, sanity, if you want, you have to make some discrimination. Like for instance, where you have a flat, Mother Lavanga Latika, presume somewhere, you're living somewhere. So if you was to go out in Camden and invite all the homeless people to come and stay with you, would you be able to do your bhajan? Would you be peaceful in chanting the holy name? No, you wouldn't. There'd be too much disturbance. So you have to make some discrimination for your own spiritual well-being. But you understand they're part and parcels of Krishna. Yeah? Like there are some, I know there is some, for instance, there are some you find some, I know Radhanath Swami speaks in his book, The Journey Home, when he was on his way to India, he stopped in London, and one priest had opened up the cellar of his church and invited all the homeless people in to go and rest, benevolent, invite them into the house of the Lord. But when he went down there, because he had no money, he was disgusted. There was all druggies jacking up heroin. There was people having illicit sex there. It was all under the name of being, let them all come to the house of the Lord, but they all abused it. Anyway, could go on. Anybody else on that? Any other comments upon that? Interesting point about.
I also feel that we would realize others' consciousness, but according to how we made progress, or tolerate things according to how we are making progress.
You mean like as I see the world, so does everyone else see the world? Or...
No, like say you win the association of devotees, and if you feel somebody's annoying you or something like that, but according to your progress, you'll be able to control it, be able to cope with it, still be able to work with them, so it also helps us by making our own progress, and then we'll be able to judge things in a better state.
Yeah, in other words, you have more wisdom and more maturity, so you're able to function within a society
at different level, yeah,
a great variety of people with different needs and different, with different moods, and sometimes they'll be in different modes according to different days. So yeah, so we have an equal. So it's good to have an equal disposition to everyone. As much as we can, and make distinctions as far as our intimate association. But we should basically we should understand here what a true yogi and devotees are true yogis. We should appreciate Krishna's presence within everyone. So that may be a sadhana that you can try to do. Like tomorrow, when you're shopping or going about your daily activities, every time you see someone, try and picture Krishna within their heart. And picture them as part and parcel of Krishna. I used to try that a few times while distributing books. It's easier said than done because our habit is not to think like that. But so you can try that as a sudden, but eventually through the progress of Krishna consciousness, it becomes a natural feature of one's vision. One is seeing that. One is seeing Krishna. One is seeing Krishna within everyone. Yeah, seeing Krishna everywhere. Yeah. So that's where one is not going to be affected by the modes of material nature. Yeah. So that's a sadhana. Yeah. Just looking here. Anything else we can bring out from the purple here?
Hi, Krishna Prabhu.
Please, yes.
I was after listening to everybody, I thought, for me, thinking of Krishna in everyone's can be more easily thought if we think, oh, we are very conditioned always. So everybody's conditioning is in a different levels. So we will act as per our conditioning, or even we want to, even we try not to act that way, but still the modes will make us to act. So if you put both together, okay, Krishna is in, but still they are not acting in. Still, why we can't see that because of our conditioning, and also we can't see Krishna in their behavior or anything because of their conditioning. So in that way, it would be easier, I thought.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's easier said than done. That's why it's good to always come in touch with the sastra daily and here, because this about the fact of seeing Krishna everywhere is repeated again and again and again, especially in the Bhagavatam. It's repeated everywhere. So we have to keep reminding ourselves. Yeah, keep reminding ourselves. And then there will eventually, I mean, there is a realization that actually comes at a certain stage of Krishna consciousness. But keep ourselves reminded of the fact. And it's again, it may be difficult, as you're mentioning, especially if we're in the modes of passion. If we're in a mode of passion and someone else approaches us in a mode of passion to shout at us or speak to us in an unpleasant way, we will just give the same back because we're in the same mode as them. So we will just react. But if we're seeing Krishna within them, like what's that example where who's that sage who went to find out who was the supreme? Shiva, Brahma, Brigu, yeah. And he went and
Yeah.
kicked, without telling the whole story, I think most of us know it, when he went and kicked Vishnu in the chest. That's pretty intense, isn't it? Then Krishna was very concerned. Oh, my dear Brahman, my chest is so hard. What if you might surely is hurt your foot? Please forgive me. So that's a quite an extreme example, but Krishna obviously he's not affected by the modes.
And one thing I was remembering, if you put somebody in book distribution and the person put you off, not only that, get lost, don't come, go away from me. Why are you? Go. And that time is the best time to meditate on this, I think.
Yeah. Nimai Mata, if you don't know devotees here, she is an avid book distributor. Whenever she gets a chance, she likes to distribute books. So she has this experience. Yeah, that's why book distribution is a wonderful teacher. You get, yeah. Very good. So yeah, you learn to do this for your own vanity.
Yeah.
So let's have a little look here. The Lord, the source of all beings, is like the mother and the maintainer. So Krishna is neutral to everyone, except by his devotees. He has a special place in his heart for those who are serving him. That's mentioned later in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. And he speaks here as well in the 7th chapter, Bhumi Apa Nalo Vayo Kama Mano Evacha. There's the external energy, and then Aparamidastanyam, there's the inferior energy. We're conditioned, although we are the superior energy, Aparamidastanyam, we are conditioned by the Bhumi Apa Nalo Vayo. Yeah. But whatever, we are always situated in Krishna. Yeah. Anyway, okay, Hare Krishna. Anything else we'd like to divine from this? Anything? In either case, the living entity is the servant of God. Yeah, the devotee who was with us yesterday, he asked that question, isn't it? That's his question. What does it mean to be a servant? So yeah, we're all constitutionally servants of God. Yeah. All right. Let's look at text 13. I know, let me just a little just what Burijan, he mentioned, disciple of Prabhupada, he gives a commentary here. Here is described that a true yogi sees the Supersoul within the body of all living beings, also sees all living beings within the Supersoul. This is his vision, not simply a intellectual adjustment. So for us, it might be a intellectual adjustment that we have to make. Yeah. So now next, the benefits of such a vision is going to be described in the next verse. Yeah. But we've got these realizations to look forward to in our development of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. If we continue chanting and continue our devotional activities and can continue cleaning our heart, then these will not be theoretical. We will actually have this vision. Yeah? We will see and appreciate everyone as being part and parcels of Krishna. Sometimes I've met devotees who are, there's one devotee, he was very much senior to me, but he would always, you find that such devotees have this realization, they are very, very personal. They're very personal because they because they appreciate everyone as being a servant of Krishna. There's one senior devotee who would always, I would find it a bit difficult to associate with him, because as though he was very senior, every time I associated with him, he would make me feel senior. The way he would relate with me, the way he would speak with me was very personal, and it made me feel he made me feel special, and he made me feel more advanced than him. So that was his nature. That is how he dealt with Vaishnavas, and it wasn't something he was imposing to do. It's just his advancement. Yeah. And you'll meet, and we're blessed to be in association of devotees. So you might not know it, but you're going to meet devotees who do have this vision. And the normally the evidence, if you want to call it that, is that they're very personal, and they, yeah. Okay, let's read text 30. Okay, 6:30. Now this is quite a lengthy purport, more than 29. So this next verse is describing the benefits that come from such a vision. Yeah. Okay, someone would like to fire away at this verse, and you can read. Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati. Translation. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Purport. A person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance, he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental even to material liberation. At this stage of Krishna consciousness, beyond self-realization, the devotee becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee, and the devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. An intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee then exists. In that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated, nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of the sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. A devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.38. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyamasundara, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. So actually, the purport wasn't as long as I thought it was, but interesting points here. So again, this is the results. This is the benefits. Yeah, one is never lost. Yeah, I am never lost, and he is never lost to me. So anything what strikes you about this purple, anything which any particular that strikes you, wow, that's interesting.
It's nice that eventually we cannot live without seeing the Lord everywhere. It's like it's impossible. That was significant to me.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? That's a very good point. It's like, yeah, as you see clouds everywhere when you go out, as you see people everywhere when you go out, you see Krishna everywhere. Yeah. I think we mentioned before, Srila Prabhupada himself obviously was in this level of consciousness. So he would relate everyday things directly to Krishna, whether it be a frozen puddle, whether it would be birds droppings, whether it would be ducks in the park, whether it would be a rat in a bin. Whatever he would see, he would relate in a Krishna conscious way, in a lesson to be learned. So for instance, when he was one time feeding ducks in a park and someone was throwing bread into the water or whatever, and the ducks were going whack, 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 whack. And a duck that quacked the loudest and moved the fastest got the bread first. They said, yes, this is how we should be for Krishna. We should be like that duck, you know. And you know what he gave when he saw there was a tree and he pointed up to the birds, and then he pointed down and it was all bird stall. And he turned to his devotees and he said, what does this mean? And he's pointing with his cane to the big pile of bird stall. What's Prabhupada? What does this mean? And I think they tried to give different answers, but Prabhupada said this means everyone's attached to their particular place, you know. They mentioned the birds in a nest, they're attached to their nest and they've been there so long, there's a big pile of stall. So this seed, this is the nature of the conditioned soul, very attached to his home, you know, like that. Prabhupada give wonderful insights into his Krishna consciousness. Yeah. What else can we bring out from here? Yeah, we haven't mentioned it, but Prabhupada brings this in, which we often this verse comes up when we speak about seeing Krishna everywhere. See, I've just changed the page here on the screen. This verse here is a common verse that devotees refer to, if not in full, they refer to the essence of it. That actually, as this, what's being explained here is the vision of someone who actually is in a relationship, is in a loving relationship with Krishna. So their eyes are anointed with the salve of love, with the pulp of love. Yeah? And as Mother Gaia was saying, at this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. So, a few comments here. If you've got any questions or anything you'd like to bring out, please do. I'll just read here. Sorry, someone. Okay. Srila Vishnu Bhagavati Thakur further explains Krishna's words. When a yogi is constantly realizing me directly with his senses, he is my worshipper and never falls down. Okay, so a small comment there. Then Srila Prabhupada in his purport discusses the direct relationship between a yogi and a supersoul. And someone's trying to say something, I think. Are they? Perhaps they're just unmuted. All right, let me read a little bit here from Shutta Swami's commentary. Worshipping Lord Krishna as the soul within, or naturally, worshipping Lord Krishna as the Atma or soul within all naturally created beings is the foremost means for direct inner realizations of one own's inherent Atma. Yeah, so in other words, we read, to be Krishna conscious, we chant the holy name, we read and we engage in Sangha like we're doing, and we engage in Kirtan. But what's being described here is seeing the world can also be what's called a udipan, or a stimulus for remembering Krishna. Yeah, and in the topmost example is of, for instance, of Uddhava, who would see a dark cloud, and that would remind him of Krishna. So these, all right, this is prema bhaktas at the level of prema, like the gopis. Everything they saw just related to their relationship to Krishna. But this is, and I was watching I forget the details of it, but there was a sect of Sufis. They're interesting little documentary. They're the mystical side of Islam. And they would speak of the universe and the world as being as being a manifestation or the open form of the Quran. Yeah. You understand it? So like we see the world and everything as being, and we see through the eyes of the Bhagavad Gita. So we like next week, the one devotee, Ishvara Das, he's giving a seminar on the 24 gurus. And we've done it a few times, isn't it? Yeah, and we've done that. So this is an example of learning from the material world, or seeing the divine within the world, you know. All right, read a bit more. One who is more mature, who perceives the Supreme Lord in all beings, and all beings within the Supreme Lord, is never disconnected from him, nor does the Supreme Lord ever disconnect himself from them. That is to say that the Supreme Lord personally manifests himself within their hearts and graciously bestows blessings on them. Yeah. And there's more, but it might take too long to read. There's quite a few commentaries on this. I read one more little bit. This is from Ramanuja. One advance in yoga, or the science of the individual consciousness, attaining communion with the ultimate consciousness by dhyana or meditation, is the person who gravitates in proximity to Lord Krishna's eternal and divine transcendental nature in the manner as prescribed in the Vedic scriptures. Okay. Anyway, wonderful attainment. All right. Anything else before we can edge on to 631? You want to go to the next verse? Yes. Hare Krishna. Yeah, just check the purple. Okay, someone like to read text 31. Let's just context of this verse. Now, this verse, just before we read it, in the following verse, Krishna directly describes the Supersoul realization as worshipful service to him, if the yogi has proper knowledge. All right, so now these verses, you can see they're becoming more and more directly related to what Prabhupada is explaining to us, Krishna consciousness. So he's leading up to the final verse, which describes the best of yogis is one who thinks of him. So here now it's being mentioned more. Okay, someone like to read text 31. Okay, I'm going to jump in. Sarvabhuta stitam yomam bhajate ekatvam astitaha Savata vatmanopi sayogi mai vatate. Okay. I just read the word for word as well for our interest. Sarvabhuta stitam, situated in everyone's heart. Yaha, he who, me, bhajati. So that's devotional service. Yeah, serves in devotional service. Ekatvam, in oneness. Astitaha, situated. Savata, in all respects. Vatamanaha, being situated. Api, in spite of. Saha, he. Yogi, the transcendentalist, mai, in me, vatate, remains. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul within all creatures are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Okay. Purple. A yogi who is practicing meditation on the Supersoul sees within himself the plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu, with 4 hands holding conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. So this is the yogi. They're not focused on Krishna, they're focused, or Prabhupada describes Vishnu here. The yogi should know that Vishnu is non-different from Krishna. Krishna, in this form of Supersoul, is situated in everyone's heart. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable Supersouls present in innumerable hearts of living entities. Yeah, so you see here, so one appreciates everyone, Krishna's presence in everyone. It's the same Supreme Lord. Yeah. It's the same Supreme Lord. I mean, that's why Vaishnavas, or we find it very difficult to relate to people who we meet who are Christians or Muslims or Jews, and they refused to give any admittance or respect to anyone else who follows any other religious path. Yeah. But for devotee who understands this, to see Krishna, God, is situated in everyone's heart. So they appreciate everyone. And they're not, then anyway, I think you get the idea. Anyone probably met in your time, different devotees, persons who are maybe quite unpleasant or adverse to us, even though they're following a religious path, they're quite sure we're going to hell. And I guess I'm using quite extreme examples. Actually, I mentioned in class the other day, I met one when I was on Harinam, one coloured lady. She was standing at Oxford Circus, and she was happily trying to convince me that I was going to burn in hell forever. She was shouting loud, "I'm going to burn in hell forever." I was thinking, well, that was a nice interfaith conversation, a nice interfaith exchange. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So Krishna is in everyone's heart, even in the enemy, so-called enemy. Krishna's there. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable supersouls present in innumerable hearts of living entities. Nor is there a difference between a Krishna conscious person always engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation on the Supersoul. All right. So the yogi may be in Himalaya, may be meditating with strict or doing strict tapasya, and they may have achieved meditation upon Vishnu, but it's non-different from a devotee who is in the world and going about their family duties, etc. But they are in loving service to Krishna. Yeah. I'll read that again. So there is no, between a Krishna conscious person, nor is there a difference between a Krishna conscious person always engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna and the perfect yogi engaged in meditation on the Supersoul. The yogi in Krishna consciousness, even though he may be engaged, so Prabhupada mentions this now, in various activities while in material existence, remains always situated in Krishna. Yeah. So Prabhupada mentions this more than one place where a devotee is actually in Krishna. He lives in Krishna. So you can meditate upon that. Yeah, devotee lives in Krishna. Remains always situated in Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu 12187 of Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikalo api avashtasto jivan mukta sa uchate. So that means he's jivan mukta. He's liberated even though within the material shell. Even though within the material body, he is considered to be a liberated soul. A devotee of the Lord, always acting in Krishna consciousness, is automatically liberated. Then he quotes in Narada Pantratra, this is confirmed in this way. Dikkaladi anavatine Krishne tato vithaya cha tanmayo bhavati shipram jiva brahmani yojayat. Any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Coming to the end. By concentrating one's attention on the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all-pervading and beyond time and space, one becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna and then attains the happy state of transcendental association with him. Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of trance in yoga. Practice this very understanding that Krishna is present as Paramatma in everyone's heart makes the yogi faultless. The Vedas Gopala Tapani Upanishad 121 confirms this inconceivable potency of the Lord as follows. Eko Pishan Bahuda Yo Vabhati. Though the Lord is one, he is present in innumerable hearts as many. It's the one same Lord, yeah. Similarly, in the Smriti Sastra, it is said, Eko eva paro Vishnu sava vyapi na shamshayaha aishvayat rupam ekam cha shoya vat bahutyate. Vishnu is one, and yet he is certainly all-pervading. By his inconceivable potency, in spite of his one form, he is present everywhere. The example is given as the sun appears in many places at once, just like the sun is reflected in many reservoirs of water, as though it's one. Right? So we're just about to hit, we've just hit 7 o'clock. So perhaps, what's the main lesson we've learned today?
Seeing Krishna in everyone's heart, trying to.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, seeing Krishna everywhere. So perhaps I can give you some homework. Is it that okay? There's some homework. So take it as a sadhana. At least tomorrow, try it. Everyone you see, if you see the milkman, or if you see the postman, if you see a cat or a dog or whatever, you see the neighbor, first try and think that Krishna's within their heart, you know, and just see how you go. Try it as a practice. Then I can check if you've done your homework next Tuesday. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So,
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Everybody, Prabhu ki jai. Mancha kalpatra se ke paas sindite.
Grace Malma Prabhu ki jai.
Holy Prabhu ki jai. Hari
Bhagavad
Om.
Gita ki jai. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.